This is 11.2 for Accounting 1, the Work Together assignment. You will find the instructions on page 314 in your textbook. And you are going to be looking in your workbook on pages 257 and 258. And you will also need to look back on page 253 for the general journal that was included in 11.1. The instructions say, partial sales and cash receipts journals for graphic inks are given in your working papers. Also given are one blank accounts receivable ledger account form and a blank form for preparation of a schedule of accounts receivable. You're also going to need the general journal from Work Together 11.1. So step number 1 says, start a new page for the accounts receivable ledger account for Brandy Sparks. The account number is 140 and the balance for October 1st of the current year is $212. So let's break this down. We're looking for an accounts receivable ledger. That is on the next page. Here's our accounts receivable ledger. And we're going to the blank one down here. So you're just going to write in for the customer name, Brandy Sparks. And then the customer number, it says, is 140. Okay. The new balance on October 1st of the current year is $212. So this time, we're going to come down here to the date. We are going to have to write the month. So we're going to put October 1st. And you're going to want to come up here and put the year. And the balance. So in the item, we're going to write the word balance. And then we're going to come all the way over to the debit balance column. See if I can just drag that over and go this way. And it says her beginning balance is $212. Mine may not line up just perfect. Okay. So Brandy Sparks has her general ledger account open with the balance brought forward of $212. The last thing we need to do is in here in the middle, we need to put a check mark. And I don't think I can do that here, so I'm just going to make an X. Number 2, we're going to post the accounts receivable debit entry on line 5 of the sales journal to the accounts receivable account for Brandy Sparks. So we're going to go to the accounts, to the sales journal. Here is my sales journal. Here's the entry for Brandy Sparks. We are going to post this accounts receivable debit into her ledger. So 576.64, go to her ledger. This, it said, was on the 20th. So I'm just going to put the 20th in the date area. If I can get it there. That's pretty close. I'm going to come over here. It said in the sales journal, if you look at it, it's accounts receivable debit. Right here, the accounts receivable debit, 576.64. So debit on the second line, 576.64. And then I need to find her new balance. Okay, this is a debit and this is a debit. Am I going to add or am I going to subtract? Right, we're going to add because a debit and a debit are the same, so you add them together. Plus, you can always look at it. She owed $212. She charged another $576. That means she owes more money. So we're going to add those two numbers together. And go ahead and do that, and then you'll put your answer here in your debit balance column. When you add those together, you should have gotten $788.64. Not exactly lining up perfect, but I can't reach the smartboard with my microphone. Okay, in the one more thing. What is it that we have forgotten to do? There's two things here. The post reference. So we need to put on her ledger, where did this information come from? If we look over here, it came from the sales journal, page 10. So we're going to put S10 in the post reference. Okay, then I'm going to take her customer number of 140, come back over. Here in the post reference, I'm going to type 140. That lets me know two things. It lets me know, first of all, where this information went to, and second, it lets me know where I left off if I got interrupted in the middle of doing the entire page. Number 3, we're going to post the accounts receivable credit entry on line 9 of the cash receipts journal to the accounts receivable account for Alfredo Lopez. So, cash receipts journal is up here. We're looking at line 9. Here's the entry on the 21st for Alfredo Lopez. Looks like we have an accounts receivable credit of $254.40. If I analyze this farther, cash receipts journal, that would have meant that he paid cash. Here's where he paid his cash. So we need to credit his account $254.40 because he paid on his bill. So cash receipts journal, page 12. Coming over here, I'm going to find Alfredo Lopez. And we're ready to enter this one. So Alfredo Lopez's event happened on the 21st. Come down here and type the 21st. I'm going to go on across. This time I'll get the post reference while we're there. What is my post reference? Well, it came from the cash receipts journal, so it's going to be a CR. And the cash receipts journal was page 12. Okay, next, what am I entering for him? If I look back here, it's an accounts receivable credit. So I'm coming back. And am I going to use the debit or the credit column? Right, we're going to put it in the credit column. The amount was $254.40. Oops, that didn't line up very good. And then for my debit balance, I had a debit balance. I now entered a credit. Am I going to add or am I going to subtract to get the new debit balance? Right, we're going to subtract because a debit and a credit are opposite. That means we subtract when we add alikes. Plus, you can look at this. He owed $1,526.40. He paid $254.40. He should owe less money. So go ahead and do your math. Find your correct answer here for his debit balance. You should have come up with $1,272. Okay. There we go. We need to now go back and do what? Right, we're going to take the customer number of 130, come back over here to the cash receipts journal, and type in the post reference 130. That lets us know where the information went to, and also which ones we have done and which ones we have not done. Step number 4 says to post the credit entry on line 3 of the general journal to the accounts receivable account for David Bishop. So I'm going to my general journal. Mine is down here. You're going to find yours on page 253 of your workbook. It was part of the 11-1 work together assignment that you did yesterday. I'm going down to line 3. Here's my accounts receivable for David Bishop. You should have already, so let me see here. This time we're going to look at this. David Bishop has a credit of $55.12, and it's coming from General Journal, page 11. So we'll come over here, find David Bishop. The date that happened was on the 12th of October. David Bishop, going to type the 12th. Come over to the post reference. Oh, move that over here. Post reference is going to be what? Right, coming from the General Journal, so it's a G11 because that's the page number we're on. Okay, it was listed as a credit for $55.12, so I'm just coming to the credit column and type my credit of $55.12. And then I'm going to need to find his new debit balance. Am I going to add or am I going to subtract? Right, we're subtracting because we had a debit. Now we have a credit. Because what happened was he had a balance of $587.25. It looks like he paid $348.75, and then he had this sales return for $55.12. So we're going to take $55.12 off the total amount he owes, put that in the balance column. So do your math. And you should have come up with $183.38. Okay. David Bishop is almost done. We still have to take his customer number of 110, go back to the General Journal, see if I can type small enough to get this in here, 110. It's going to go on the bottom half of that slanted line, which mine's not even showing. So somewhere about right there. Okay. Step number 5, we're going to prepare a schedule of accounts receivable for Graphic Inks on October 31st of the current year. So I'm going to go to my schedule of accounts receivable, which is right down here. It's going to make it handy. You can see it all at once. The accounts receivable balance in the general ledger on October 31st is $2,530.22. Am I going to type or am I going to write that number anywhere? No. That number is given to me so that I know if I have the correct answer when we get done. So to start our schedule of accounts receivable, on the top line we're going to put the name of our business. Our business is called Graphics Inc. And that will be centered. On the next line, we're going to type schedule of accounts receivable. It is a schedule of accounts receivable because this is people that we want to receive money from. And on the third line, we're going to put the date. The book said this is October 31st. And I'm just going to drag my form over so it looks like it's about centered. Sort of. Okay. Now what we're going to do is we just need to list any accounts that we have in our accounts receivable ledger book that owe a balance. So we're going to look up here. David Bishop is the first one. Yep, looks like he owes a balance. Come down. Type David Bishop. Going to come over here to the amount column and put in how much he owes. He owes $183.38. The next one we have is, if you look up above, is Maria Farrell. And it looks like Maria Farrell owes a balance of $286.20. $286.20. The third account is going to belong to Alfredo Lopez, and he owes $1,272. $1,272. And our fourth account belongs to Brandy Sparks. You can see her here, and it looks like she owes $788.64. Oops. Too far. Okay, I've now listed everyone who owes me money and how much they owe me. The next thing I'm going to do is, on the next line, I need to total this. So I'm going to write total accounts receivable. Oops, again, it's doing that. Okay, I'm going to add up my numbers. So go ahead and add up your numbers. You should have gotten $2,530.22. Is that number correct? Now, how do you know? The way I can tell if that number is correct is because in your book, it says the accounts receivable balance in the general ledger on October 31st is $2,530.22. That makes that number correct. So to show that we've added and that it's correct, we're going to draw our lines to prove and rule the statement. Okay, that is it for 11.2. Work together. Go ahead and do on your own and check the answers in the book, and then do your homework for application problem 11.2.